Am I the type of person who would make a little literary book tag dramatic and complicated? Yes. Yes, I am. Aloha and welcome back to my channel. I'm Marilyn or Maya, whichever you choose, the baby boomer booktuber. And today I'm going to do a tag created by Mark at, let me make sure I have his channel right, Booktime with Elvis, and Elvis is his dog. And I was very excited to get tagged. I haven't been tagged many times, and I was tagged by Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading. So thank you, Kelly. And let's get on to the questions. Question number 1. Tolkien once said that cellar door is the most beautiful expression in English. What do you think is the most beautiful word or phrase in English or any other language? So first I thought of English, and I thought of exquisite, which is an exquisite word. I thought of sublime, because when I used to write poetry, and I think I used that one too many times. And then I thought, well, let me think of my other culture. I have one of two cultures, and one is Puerto Rican. And the Taino Indians named Puerto Rico Borinquen. And that's a beautiful word. Something that's not well known is the Taino Indians, the original native Caribbeans who were in our island. Their words originated was barbecue and hammock. So if you didn't know that, that's a little tidbit of Taino Indian word that I think is really beautiful. If you like barbecue, I don't eat meat anymore. But anyway, I think a barbecue, if you have eaten a barbecue and you laid on a hammock, now you know where those words came from. All right, let's go to the next question. What words in English do you find most amusing? I would like to say that the first thing I thought of was Judge Judy, and she says, she taught me kerfuffle, or I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I had never heard that word before. Words that I have heard of are brouhaha, bamboozle, shenanigans, which I have a lot of, bodacious, I love that, nincompoop. These are some funny words. I don't know if they're in your vocabulary for funny words, but they're pretty funny. 3. Have you memorized any poems in full to whip out now and then to impress your friends? If so, which ones? I do. And would I whip out poems to impress my friends? Of course I would. And the first thing I thought of was when I was 2 or 3, my mother had me recite the night before Christmas to all the older Jewish women in our housing project, which when I think of that, it sounds a little odd because they were Jewish and this was Christmas, but my mother was she was special. So I'm sure she had a reason, but I did it and I impressed everyone. Right now, I think of the poem Trees by Joyce Kilmer because it was also a song. I'm not going to recite it all, but I could. And it goes, I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree. I have my own poems to whip out. And I used to write a lot of poetry. I used to read spoken poetry at events, and this was one that I put in my book. So it was important to me. It's when my mother passed away, and it's a very short poem, so I'll read it. And my mother says, "Don't send me flowers, you always said. Bring me purple flowers in their bloom. You were not easy. You were a proud rose with a thorn that stung many who attempted to enter your inner sanctum. But I will fill a room with lilacs, because your being shines like remembered rain, and the lavender fragrance of your soul engulfs me. Yes, lavenders, lilacs for mother and my love." So that was one poem that I wrote when I was in grief for my mother. Another poem I didn't memorize, but I found when I was looking through my blog, From Agoraphobia to Zen blog post, WordPress. And I thought that since I'm not very immodest, I shall read it to you. And it's called "I'm Not a Poet." I'm not a poet. I don't string words for mild effect or write romantic couplets. I'm not a dancer. I don't follow another's step or do neat leaps and pirouettes. I am the poem alive with fire. I am the flame of life's desire. My body can interpret ancient texts. My rhythm moves with cleansing breath. I'm wild abandon like the night. Don't do it well or say it right. I'm not a poet. I live the word that can disturb but must be heard. I am the heart that's unsurpassed. I am the world that turns too fast. I am the age of seers long past. I wear the sign that love can last. So I was surprised to see that in my blog, because I forgot that I wrote those poems, and I said, hey, that's not too bad. Let me know what you think. Even if you don't like it, let me know what you think. I wrote that quite a long time ago. Well, let's get back to the questions. Who or what do you consider to be an underrated and underappreciated author or book? And I have to say Betty Smith. And here's a picture of her. She wrote A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. And that was certainly not an underappreciated book. It's one of the best books. It's considered one of the best books written. But she had other books that I think are underappreciated. Maggie-Now, Tomorrow Will Be Better, and one that I really liked, which was Joy in the Morning. So I would pick up the other books about from Betty Smith. In fact, I think I said in another video that Paul Theroux, who's also a travel writer and writer of other subjects, said, I think he wrote Mosquito Coast actually, but he said that if you really want to know an author, read all of their books. And I try to do that when I really, really love an author, and I love Betty Smith. So that's my answer to that question. And number 5, which book do you consider to have the best or most memorable beginning? And this is a book that I haven't read. It's War and Peace, and by Tolstoy, and I think it has the best beginning. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And I'm writing a sequel to my first book, my first memoir, and I have that in one of my chapters because it's such a meaningful beginning, because sometimes we're in the best of times, at the same time we're in the worst of times. And so that's my answer to that question. Number 6, what book title best describes your life? I guess I have an automatic answer to this because I wrote a book and it's called, it's out of print. It's called From Agoraphobia to Zen. And I think it described my life at the time because I had agoraphobia, and I was trying to say I was trying to make a play on words, A to Z, and Zen being the best place you can be. But I don't think I'm at Zen, and I don't think I'm through with agoraphobia, so it really doesn't fit me now, and my new book will have a different title. But I guess I should say that a book you write yourself has to be the best title for your own book. So I'll use that one. 7. What was the last book you read that led to a moistening of the eyes? And that has to be Passing by Nella Larson. I read this book and didn't realize when I was going to read it that it had to do with a lot of subjects that were very emotional to me, which is racism. But more importantly, for me, I'm sure racism is important to many people. And this is a woman who she didn't fit in. And I think the author felt that way too, because both of the books, Quicksand and Passing, have to do with colorism and not fitting in a white or black culture. And believe it or not, I've had that feeling. And I'm not going to go into it into detail right now because I present as white, but all my grandmothers were not white. Some were from Africa. So my mother was Jewish, and her family were very prejudiced against darker people. So I received some of that, both being accepted for being white and also being considered not white enough and having features that weren't considered white, at least by my mother. Not too many other people. But anyway, I also had the experience of not fitting into both cultures, both the Jewish culture. I wasn't Jewish enough, I was half Jewish, and not being Puerto Rican enough because my Spanish wasn't as good as it should be, or not so much in color because there are white Puerto Ricans. My father was one. But still, I always fought to fit into a culture, until I realized that I'm just me and not only my culture. But in Passing, and also in Quicksand, which I'm in the process of reading, the main character goes through a lot of colorisms and feeling that she either has to hate her own culture to fit into the black culture. In other words, she has to hate that part of herself that's white, to fit into black culture, which she was trying to do. And in a sense, well, I'm talking about Quicksand right now, she was not passing. She was a colored girl, as they used to call black people, even in my time. So I felt a lot of her frustration and anger, and it made me cry. Let's just put it that way. So, but it's so beautifully written. So I suggest everybody reads this book to understand that in all cultures there's a caste system of sorts, and there's a book going around called Caste that I think talks about that. So it's not only in it's very complicated, but I won't talk about it now. But I will say that this book made me cry, and I read a lot of Holocaust memoirs, so I don't cry easily at a book, but it gave me a personal experience that I might one day share with Booktube. But that's my answer to this question. Number 8. When it's time to shuffle off this mortal coil and go to the big library in the sky, what bookish literary quote would you like engraved on your headstone? A lot of people talk about being wanting to be cremated, and I'm Jewish, so if you're religious, which I'm not religious, but I am walking to the edge of religion, to feeling like I'm Jewish. So yes, I'm not going to be cremated. I know that already. Yet I had a funny idea come to my head about a headstone, and it had to do with Dr. Seuss. There's a whole thing going around about Dr. Seuss right now. And I just thought of this funny one called, "Oh, the Places You'll Go." So I thought that was funny, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm not the one who puts the headstone on, engraving on. It's people who live on after you. And well, I hope they don't put that one on, but still, I thought it was funny because anyone passing by a headstone saying, oh, the places you'll go. So anyway, that's my answer to that question. All right, number 9, and we're almost over. If you wrote a book and didn't want to use your own name, what name would you choose as a suitable pen name? In my own book, I used my given name, which is Marilyn Mendoza. In my new book, I'm going to use my nickname, which is Maya, and I'm going to use Marilyn, quotes, Maya Mendoza. But if I had to write a different genre, and I thought of it, I thought of writing romance, steamy romance, and I thought of a name that fit me a little bit. It was called Roxy Roman. I don't know why, but it sounded like a really very wild dame. But I never did get to write fiction or erotic or steamy romance. I don't think I can really make up a story. I'm more of a nonfiction writer. I am a nonfiction writer, so I write memoir, poetry, etc., even blogs. So that's my answer to this question. I wanted to also say something about words. I'm doing this tag not on Tag Tuesday, but on the weekend, because one of my favorite words is unruly rules. I'm an unruly person. I hate rules in general. I don't break the law, not so much that, but I hate to be told exactly what to do on what day. So this tag will go out before Tuesday. So I wanted to bring that up. Okay, 10, many literary characters have sidekicks and henchmen. Who would you choose to be your companion on your life adventures? Well, the person who's filming this video, his name is Jackson, as many of you know, and we've been together 14 years on this path called life. He's a wonderful person. I wrote a poem about him, but I won't embarrass him right now by reading it. But he's quite a few years younger than me, but he's an old soul, and I hope we can continue our journey. I mean, he's seen me when I was a little more lively and didn't have all these medical issues, and he stood by me, and that's what I think a partner or a henchman should be. I don't know about henchman, but he's also, I call him my literary character too, because he's the one who, for now, is filming me and editing me, and he's very good at photography, so he's good at all of these framing things that I suck at. So I will say my partner Jackson, and I think Kelly also said it was her partner that she picked, so I guess I'm stealing that from her, because I can't think of any other literary character that I would want to share life with. Okay, who am I going to tag? I thought about this, and since I'm new to tagging, I want to thank Shawn, the book maniac. I'll tag him. He's probably either done this tag or he's going to do it, or he's a big tag person. And he's been very kind to me and welcoming to the BookTube community. So I tagged Shawn, the book maniac. I also want to tag Margaret Pinard, who's also a writer as myself, and of course much more prolific than I am. I'm still working for the last 5 years on my memoir. This is my second memoir. But anyway, I'd like to tag her, and she probably has also either done this tag or has been tagged. But Margaret. I also would like to tag Alba at Seriela, because she's my Puerto Rican friend, and she might appreciate some of the Spanish words. By the way, there was another Spanish word that I forgot that I'm going to give you now, and it's called huepa, and usually it's a sign of joy, and it's a sign that when we're going to play our music, we say that a lot. And also chévere, like bien chévere, which means it's great. And I think it's only a Puerto Rican word. So Alba, let me know. But I know growing up with my Puerto Rican friends, I heard that expression a lot. So I want to add those two to my list of favorite words because I love happiness. I also want to tag KaZen or KaZen at Always Doing because she's been so kind to me, and I consider her a friend, a real friend. She was the one who was so happy when I got my vaccination, and she's always saying kind things in her comments to me, which I really appreciate, and I just love her. So she's in Japan, by the way, and she has a wonderful channel, Always Doing, which she really is always doing. She's always doing something interesting. My last tag is one of the first booktubers who I've followed from the beginning, and her name is Claudia. She lives in Germany right now, but she used to live in Wales, and her channel is Spinster's Library. She has a pretty large following, so I'm sure you know her. And she's also been very kind to me and welcoming in the community. So that's my Not Tuesday book tag, the little literary book tag. And I want to thank the new booktuber Mark again, because it's very, very wonderful that he came up with an original book tag so early in his booktube creation. So subscribe if you like this booktube channel and my material, because there's going to be more of the not so modest Maya. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching. And until we meet again, aloha.